Hello, and welcome back, most illustrious members of the Detail. I'm your host, D, also known as MTF Doom on the internet, and today we have a request from the Discord to go over cards that have sort of lots of synergies and more going on than the average card. Obviously, the current keynote speaker on this is Iron Lad, but we're also going to cover Invisible Woman because she's got a lot of sort of interesting caveats to her. I hope you enjoy. So, before we get into it, as always, the call to action. I do it because it works. My metrics do not lie. Statistics don't lie, but liars use statistics and all that. If you find this content like elucidating, enlightening, enriching, if you find me just so dang charming, or whatever, you just want to join the cool community that has sprung up around this channel, please hit the subscribe down below. It helps me reach new people. Join the Discord so you can request cool videos like this, and let's get into it. So, Iron Lad obviously is the new hot card. That's part of why I'm covering it, but also like, it's really like the height of what this person asked for. This was so friend of the channel, Grackle Flint, sort of asked for this. His exact wording was like a deep dive into a card that has more going on than the average card. But then Crayon Eater of Tournament Arc fame, Crayon Eater, requested Invisible Woman specifically, working off that prompt. So, and I like that. Invisible Woman is a great pick for this, but because Iron Lad just came out and like people are kind of jonesing for it, I'm gonna start with Iron Lad, but I'm also gonna cover Invisible Woman. But you're gonna see the disparity. Like, Iron Lad has a lot more going on. Iron Lad, the thing is, Iron Lad kind of has the most going on. So it's a great mutual topic. So 4/6 on reveal, copy the text of your deck's top card. Now, in yesterday's video, I alluded to wondering if this worked with Mysterio. I have not gotten to test it yet. My inclination is that no, that this happens after Mysterio would trigger, but I'd love confirmation on that, if anyone wanted to do that. So, what are some caveats of this card? Well, I've broken it down into sort of three categories of Lad hits. So you want, the best use case for this card is something proactive, something that your deck ideally is built around, and that is basically always going to be good. It's going to be good 90% of the time to hit this, right? 95% of the time. There's some amount of the time where like, oh no, the Doombot like filled a lane that you didn't want filled yet, or it went into bar with no name. But like 95% of the time, hitting Dr. Doom just feels good. Oh, I forgot Sarah goes here. Fuck Blue Marvel. Sarah is my real best friend. Ongoing effects. I included Blue Marvel because of that. Good ongoing effects on cards that are otherwise sort of understated, right? Because Iron Lad is like basically vanilla statted at a 4 cost. So like getting a positive ongoing effect that would normally cost you like some amount of stats and getting it even a turn early, incredibly good. Super Scroll, right? But the point is, all of these are good sort of no matter when you hit them, right? Getting a Super Scroll out that has vanilla stats instead of low stats, getting a Luke Cage out. I have people in my Discord who swear by just playing Luke Cage as a tech card. Just swear by, like, oh yeah, like it helps you out with different, like, sometimes the Valk matchup, you just win because of Luke Cage. Sometimes there's just like, you know, a -2 location that you're just like, yeah, whatever, I win that one now. You're not even playing Hazmat some of the time. I don't know if I agree with that, but the results seem kind of compelling, and the new buff to make him a 2/2, it's like, yeah, some people were just playing Cable for a little while, like, as a 2/2. I don't know, maybe. Stuff like Cosmo, right? Because it's proactive. You're putting Cosmo down, and you don't really care. Like, you're just trying to interrupt your opponent's game plan and force them to play into different locations or whatever. Cosmo can be semi-reactive based on like a priority hierarchy, but in general, you know, you're pretty happy landing a Cosmo and then a second Cosmo, right? On 4 and 5. Nightcrawler or Vision, in general, it doesn't matter that much because like you're dropping Iron Lad on 4, so you generally don't have to move him twice, but like, you know, Vision, you can move him twice instead of just once, whatever, that's fine. Stuff like, so I think you understand. The point is, this is stuff where like, if you hit this on turn 4, you're just happy. You're just like, yeah, cool. I'm playing a Patriot deck. And I just got an extra copy of Patriot for free with a good stat line. Keep in mind, you cannot play Ultron in the Patriot Lad deck. You just can't. You can only play stuff like Debris, Doom, White Tiger, Brood, Sinister. That might be it. It might just be those. Oh, you can play Squirrel Girl, but I think Squirrel Girl's a pretty bad play, if we're being honest. But you cannot play Ultron because you don't want to accidentally hit Ultron on Iron Lad and then fill both your other lanes. It's a bad time. Don't do it. Yeah, so stuff like this, I think you understand. Iron Lad also very much requires a deck tracker. Like, not requires, but kind of requires. I also wouldn't play a lot of people compare Iron Lad to Jubilee. The Iron Lad is 90% of the time better than Jubilee, but you wouldn't play them together. And Jubilee is not strictly worse because you also get the stats of the thing that you pull, right? So if you copy the effect of Heimdall. Oh god, I'm reaching here. D, you got long arms. My wife says that to me all the time. You got long arms, D. You're reaching. But like, if you copy just the effect of Heimdall, you're technically missing out on 2 stats. You can play them again, right? But whatever. But if you Jubilee into Heimdall, you've gotten those extra stats. It also reduces your deck size by 1. In general, you don't play them both because it basically either instantly fills a lane or leaves you with only one spot, right? If you start with a naked lane and you go Iron Lad and then you get Jubilee, like, as your hit, the Iron Lad effect will pull Jubilee because she pulls your next card. Then Jubilee will pull your next card. So you have to have 3 spots open and you use up all 3 spots. And I don't know that I love that. So, okay, we've got proactive cards. Then we've got, I didn't have a good word for it, but we're going to go with mid-active cards. So these are cards that, like, are kind of just bonuses, but, like, they're not game-breaking bonuses. Like, you know, getting a 4/6 Spider-Man instead of a 4/3 Spider-Man is fine, but, like, it's not game-breaking. Even if you go, like, ooh, I'll follow it up. On turn 4, I Iron Lad. I hit Spider-Man, so on turn 5, I get to Spider-Man. I've locked my opponent out of that lane. Yeah, but you've also spent 8 energy to lock them out of that lane in 2 cards. Like, it's actually not that good. Spider-Man is mostly good because you can plan around it, and what's more is now your opponent can plan around it, right? And that's going to be the next set of cards. Your opponent planning around it basically means they're never good, like almost ever. Other cards that would be included here, like stuff like Sunspot. Like, technically, you could still get a couple points of power on your Iron Lad if you hit Sunspot, but in general, like, it's not the best thing you can be doing, but it's like, it's not a bad hit. It's not going to mess up your game plan. It's not going to hurt you. It's just not the best hit. But, like, when you're filling out an Iron Lad deck, those are the kind, like, you have to think of, like, what I mentioned, you know, Ultron before, you know, you have to think of the hits that, like, you really only want some of the time, and how they can actively mess you up. And so you don't want to include basically any of those. I've put Hazmat here because I assume if you're playing a Hazmat deck, just having access to another copy of Hazmat is something. It's not always the best, but it's something. this could be free stats. You know, you can't reliably call that you're going to hit one of the Guardian cards. But, you know, if you're playing a couple Guardian cards and you happen to hit one, you can kind of build around it or think around it, right? Especially if you're using Iron Lad as part of a turn 6 play, which is super reasonable because, like we saw, Sarah and to a lesser extent Zabu are very good in Iron Lad decks. I mean, Zabu is like a good card, but hitting Sarah as your Iron Lad is backbreaking a lot of the time. Other cards that we would include would be stuff like White Queen. This, I mean, it's literally just the same thing. It's not like you've gained anything except a second copy of White Queen and possibly a second copy of whatever their highest cost card is. Spider Woman is, you know, it's like if you accidentally give your opponent -2 power, like how game breaking is that? Not really, but it's not a downside. And then Spectrum I included because while the Spectrum hit is usually pretty good, it does give away that you're going to draw a Spectrum, assuming you're not playing out your Iron Lad as part of a turn 6 play, and that can be a downside. Just giving away that information can actually kind of be a downside, but it's a fairly minor downside. Now, it would be a major downside if, say, you gave away that you have a Shang-Chi, you didn't hit anything with that Shang-Chi, and now your opponent knows you have a Shang-Chi. And the same with Enchantress. So, I mean, and I included Elektra because it looked really barren with only those 2 cards, but, like, who cares? Like, I guess it could be Killmonger too, right? But the point is, cards that are strictly reactive and not proactive are notably worse as Iron Lad because you've given up the game. You've shown them that what you are about to do, and in doing so you've sort of like negated all the bonus. Oh, rogue could be in here, but you know, you understand what I'm getting at. You have like undone all the play points that you get for cards like this, and you get a lot of, like, honestly, right until Enchantress got buffed to a 4/6, this card could steal games because fucking no one was playing it. I would actually say, like, I really like Omega Red right now, though I'm not playing him very often. Cards like, even like Scarlet Witch, maybe could be here, because in general, you want to play them where you want to play them. Like, you not knowing what you're about to Scarlet Witch is not great. So something like that could be here or in the mid. But the point is, cards that only work because your opponent doesn't think you have it, or is going to quote-unquote make you have it, are the worst cards to hit with Iron Lad in general, unless you get really lucky. But Iron Lad already has a high roll element, so you're kind of already hoping to get lucky. So, like, you know, it's a compounding problem. So, all that to say, Iron Lad has the most going on. There's even more to it than this. I would love to keep... I'm going to keep playing around with him. I'm going to keep just seeing what I can, like, come up with, because it's such a cool deck building, you know, challenge. I don't want to say challenge because that makes it sound like it's hard, and it's not. You include a bunch of good cards, and Iron Lad is just any of them. But, you know, it's the kind of decks that are very synergistic, where kind of like whether you hit a payoff or like a setup, you're happy because you just got an extra copy of it. So, like, Move comes to mind, but Move is so random. Like, that's what we're theory crafting in Discord right now, and I think might be like a video in a couple days. Is like, because every card in Move is kind of good and synergistic, and just having like, oh, is it a 4/6 Kraven? Yeah, that's fine. Is it like a 4/6 Polaris? Yeah, cool. Is it a 4/6 Heimdall? Oh no, have we ruined our game plan? And that's kind of the problem we're running into. But anyway, that's all quite off topic, rather unique. That's Iron Lad as much in a nutshell as I can possibly get, which isn't a very small one. Okay, we're gonna move on. We have Invisible Woman, so let me actually pull her up, because I am a professional. I did not just cough off mic and then edit it out. Okay, Invisible Woman is a 2/2 ongoing. Cards you play here are not revealed until the game ends. All right. So the Iron Lad, we started basically talking about like fairly high level concepts because like if you can afford Iron Lad right now, you are a player who has been playing for a while, right? You have 6,000 tokens and the ability to buy Iron Lad, so you have some kind of like a collection. You've been playing. Invisible Woman could conceivably be your first pool 3 card, so we're going to talk about her in slightly more basic terms in case there are newer players, because I do really want that to be a portion of what we're doing here. I felt comfortable doing it for Iron Lad, just like jumping right into high level, but some of what you're going to hear here, you're going to be like, yeah, D, everyone knows that, but the reality is not everyone knows that, and we do want to include those people because this might be a card that they have access to, but not much else. Okay? All right, good. Glad we're all on the same page. Thank you. So, some stuff to keep in mind. The cards that you put under Invisible Woman do not flip up. That means, weirdly, they don't move, which I haven't included here because I don't think that's a good use of your time to try to move Invisible Woman around, but not the cards under her. Just keep it in mind. If like the Bifrost flips, your Invisible Woman will move, and then the cards will flip up the following turn. It's a very weird interaction, but it is the truth. Okay. The other thing is that stuff like this that gives you restrictions, like Ebony Maw, you can't play this after turn 3. That is true no matter what. But if you play it on turn 3, under an Invisible Woman, this ongoing, you can't play cards here, does not affect that lane because it's face down. So at the end of the game, this will flip face up. You will no longer be able to play cards there, but it doesn't matter because the game is over. Now keep in mind, if Invisible Woman gets silenced by Enchantress, this will flip up the following turn, depending on priority, I actually think. And you might end up not being able to play cards there, so it's slightly risky, but like not overly so. Most people don't silence the Invisible Woman. They just, if they think you're doing something really tricksy under there, they usually Cosmo the lane, which is, we're actually going to get to some tech for that. But it means that in general, ongoing cards are pretty good under Invisible Woman, and on reveal cards are a little less good in vague generalities. That's a very, very vague open statement. Additionally, you cannot play Giganto under an Invisible Woman, although it almost feels the same as this. Like, it's like, yeah, but look, you can't play cards here, like Giganto, I mean, if Invisible Woman is in the left lane, you can play Giganto under her. I guess I should be clear, but in general, it doesn't stop things like limitations of that nature. It only stops limitations on cards, right? So you, not that you would ever do this, but you could technically play Goose into that lane and then play 4, 5, or 6. That's not a really good use of your Goose, but like you could do it if you really wanted to. Totally fine. All right. Then we've got stuff that's just cheeky. So Quake and Scarlet Witch, like, at the end of the game, suddenly swapping one of the locations or all 3 of the locations to something different can be a real backbreaker of a move. I don't think Quake is very good, but like Scarlet Witch is pretty good. You'll notice she's an on reveal. And we've said maybe not on reveals, but again, we're going to get to that. These are just like, you know, any sort of gotcha card that, like, how do I say it? Any gotcha card that does not need to get them right this second. Like, that's a good way to put it. Sort of like Shang and Enchantress are fine, but you kind of want them where you want them, and you need them when you need them. Putting them under an Invisible Woman gives your opponent time to armor or Cosmo after you've played them, which isn't always ideal. Oh, and another I meant to mention this in the intro. Invisible Woman has this hidden upside that a lot of players, if you want to play Invisible Woman very, very competitively, she has the same upside as Mysterio, which is that she can stop you from gaining priority. And if you can take advantage of that and like really internalize how that changes how you're going to play a certain matchup, you can get a lot of match points off that very simple truth that your opponent will probably have more priority more often than you. Now, that does mean they can Cosmo you, so we're just going to skip to the Cosmo tech, because Invisible Woman has a very, very interesting piece of anti-Cosmo tech, which is Magneto. And the reason for that is that normally Cosmo has already shut off your on-reveal cards, right? So you play you play a Wong and your opponent plays a Cosmo and you're like, I guess I'll die. But if you have Magneto in your Invisible Woman deck, right? What's going to happen is you go Wong on 4. Your opponent's like, I smell what's going on. I smell what the Rock's cooking. They Cosmo your Invisible Woman lane. You go, I don't give a heck. I'm going to White Tiger here. And your opponent doesn't see it, but they're like, well, whatever it is, it's not going to on reveal, so I don't care. Then, on turn 6, you Magneto. You pull Cosmo to a different lane, and then the game ends. Invisible Woman reveals Wong, White Tiger doubles, because that's how this works. Basically, normally that wouldn't happen. But with Magneto and Invisible Woman, you have this very interesting out to Cosmo. It's not the strongest you can be doing, but it is a huge gotcha to a lot of players. I will say, in general, you're better off playing ongoing effects under Invisible Woman, but, like, you can do it. You can play on reveal. Usually your opponent susses it out, but you can. The other really big thing to keep in mind, it works with, like, Maximus, right? Because on reveal your opponent draws 2 cards. The game has ended, so your opponent drawing 2 cards hardly ever matters. Although right now Dino's kind of popular, so this could matter. Keep that in mind. She-Hulk. If you go Invisible Woman on 2, skip 3, and then She-Hulk on 4 plus like a 1-drop, your opponent, if they're good, is tracking how much like energy you could possibly have put under Invisible Woman, and they're going to track She-Hulk as a 3-drop or less, and might not consider that you have that much power under Invisible Woman. This only really works in higher echelons. Like, if you're in like the 20s or 30s, like, your opponent is not thinking about that, but it can be a gotcha at certain points in the meta. It can be a gotcha. Attuma destroys itself at the end of your turn, and because the turn ends before the game ends, Attuma will not destroy himself at the end of the game when he becomes revealed. So that's cool too. That's just interesting. I don't know that you could build around it, but it's interesting. And then the final one, and this is the one where I'm like, a bunch of people are going to roll their eyes and be like, I know that. The Hela deck. So Hela is a 6/6. Very nice little piece of lore. You know, because it's Hell 6/6. Very cool and good. On reveal, resurrect all cards you discarded from your hand to random locations. So the problem with Hela, big air quotes there, is that you can discard her at random, right? Unless you have like Colleen Wing. You can kind of build around trying to miss Hela, but it's like not very reliable. But what you could do is you can go MODOK on 5 under Invisible Woman, and then Hela on 6 under Invisible Woman, and then they flip in order, and they go MODOK 5, pitch your whole hand, Hela, resurrect your whole hand. So that's kind of cool. A lot of people try it. It's not the best thing you could be doing. It gets very easily shut down by Cosmo, because now even if they want to do the cool Magneto trick, well, they can't Hela because you can only do one or the other. But yeah, if you have Cosmo and you suss it out, a big thing as well in playing against Invisible Woman is that if you suss out that they're doing something like that, like they're doing some kind of like on reveal stuff, you can try to Cosmo them, and if they don't retreat, maybe you should retreat. Because maybe it's not an on-reveal thing. Maybe it's an ongoing thing, like a Cerebro under there, and you're just in trouble. You're in danger. If what they have under Invisible Woman is Cerebro and Blue Marvel, and not, say, 2 on-reveal cards, things are not about to go good for you. That's it. I think that's it. That covers all the notes I have written. I don't know if I covered everything. I mean, I know I didn't cover everything because there's so much to cover. That's the point of this. But I hope this gave you more insight into how those 2 cards might work. I hope the Invisible Woman especially was slightly more new user friendly. I know Iron Lad, we jumped right into the deep end, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you find it elucidating, enlightening, or enriching. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow.